Hello there, my movie peeps. It's wonderful to see you back. Happy October. Let's get into the movie news. Some of the things we'll be discussing here today is we finally have a release date for Scream 7. We got some giant updates in the Spider-Man world with who's looking to play Knull and a possible title for Spider-Man 4 being floated around. But the kind of biggest piece of news I am dying to discuss with you guys is James Gunn announcing this animated Robin origin story movie. We'll be diving into that along with so much more, so hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and yes, a lot of you have been asking me, I finally get to see Joker 2 today. It'll be a midday screening, not one at night, so I'll be able to also post my thoughts and review tonight, even though it looks like every other reviewer on the platform has already seen it. You better come and still click on my video, bub. But with that out of the way, let's dive into our first story, and we've got another update on the Saw franchise. While last we talked about it, there seems to be some delays going on with the production of the 11th Saw movie, some where people were saying we might not get this film to the year 2026. Well, whatever the case may be with that, there is a lot of us Saw fans still wondering, what is the story? What's gonna go down? And we have a piece of that puzzle figured out. Good old Tobin Bell, our John Kramer of the franchise, was doing an interview with LA Times, and he revealed that he will be back. For Saw 11, he will be a main part of it, and also says exactly, I'm really excited about continuing to develop him. John Kramer is not done. There's more to learn. Oh man, when isn't there more to learn about John Kramer and his mysterious past that continues to get unfolded, usually with an apprentice by his side that we never heard of. And look, while some people might be saying, duh, of course they were going to bring Tobin Bell back, it was not confirmed up until this very point. While they love to bring back a character that they killed off after the third movie over and over, usually in flashback form, there is still a lot of us that go, how much of John Kramer and Tobin Bell can you squeeze out, baby? But I think a lot of us were proven wrong when Saw X came out, and it was actually a really great story on John Kramer and kind of flipped our perspective, making us feel a little morally gray on a character we usually saw as the bad guy. I guess this also makes it more clear that Saw 11 will be more of a continuation from Saw X, where by the end of that movie, Cecilia has survived Jigsaw's game, and throughout the whole movie, they describe her as a rich and powerful person. Of course, she's gonna want to get her revenge on Jigsaw, and so I'm thinking that's probably the direction they go in, and it'll be another story we never knew about that happened in between the Saw sequels. But okay, we got that figured out. Won't be another random anthology tale in the Saw universe. Tobin Bell will remain as the main character. Are there any other big wish list items you were hoping for with Saw 11? I think the biggest one diehard fans want is Hoffman. The Hoffman to return, and yeah, bring him in, baby. Let me know your guys' thoughts on Tobin Bell returning. Moving now on to Scream 7. It really is crazy how we've been talking about Saw and Scream for the last couple of side flicks, and we continuously get updates on them. The big update that we got on the franchise now is more of an official one, which feels like is rarely happening with the franchise, but Neve Campbell took to her Instagram to post a photo letting us know the official release date for Scream 7, revealing that the movie will be released February 27th, 2026. You gotta let me know if you think this photo's AI generated, because it's starting to get hard to tell which ones are actual Photoshop and which ones are AI generated things now. But okay, putting that aside and looking, 2026 is when we get the next Scream movie. That feels like a long time. In my mind, I automatically go, man, that's 2 years, but more accurately, it's 1 year and 5 months, so okay, maybe not that bad of a wait. And I've made my stance pretty clear. I am very soured on Scream 7 because of all the controversy, but I'm not gonna go as far as to like boycott the movie or tell people not to go watch it, and you're a bad person if you do go see it. There's been enough toxicity with this movie, and I know this franchise still means a lot to a lot of people, and we have Neve Campbell and Kevin Williamson directing, which is my main reason for wanting to even go see this movie, because I think it's so awesome that the writer and creator of Scream finally gets a chance to actually direct his own film. Hopefully he's going to do something awesome with that. But even putting the drama and controversy aside, they still have an uphill battle. All we know right now is for sure Sidney Prescott is in the movie. Courtney Cox admitted earlier this week she hasn't signed on to the film, and she's hoping they can bring Dewey back into the franchise. The cast and premise of this movie, man, it better be knock out of the park amazing. I don't know if we're staying in New York, if we're going to Seattle or somewhere different. Obviously, the thing that would get me so excited is Matthew Lillard returning as Stu and then pulling that off, because I've been begging for that But honestly, if they do that now, it will just feel like an insane fan servicey cash grab move, which feels like it's Spyglass's only option with making this movie. It wouldn't feel as genuine if like everything was normal and non-controversial with the franchise, you know? And for a lot of people saying, why don't they release this movie around October? Why can't it get a Halloween release date? I believe this is part of their strategy because Scream, I think, is a franchise that's always performed well in DVD or video on demand sales. And so always releasing the movie in the earlier part of the year so that by the time October hits and people need a scary movie to watch in their house, Scream gets another bump. So that's why Scream 5 came out in January, Scream 6 in March, and now Scream 7 in February. So yeah, just being honest with you, I'm trying to be optimistic with Scream 7, but right now there hasn't been anything that shoots me over the moon excited. In fact, that's what I want to know from you guys. What in Scream 7 can like make you go, oh, now I'm really excited for this? Obviously, Melissa Barrera and Jen Ortega coming back, but that seems like it's not happening at all. What would actually make you go, okay, I'm gonna see this now? Moving on now to some Spider-Man updates. We got some really interesting stuff going on. Let's start off with this. Yesterday, a report came online from Daniel RPK, who revealed that Andy Serkis is reportedly set to play Knull in Venom: The Last Dance. Okay, it looks like we finally have our casting for Knull. A lot of people were duped whenever they first revealed Knull in the Venom 3 trailer because somebody posted that Norman Reedus was playing him, but that was from a fake parody account, was not real at all. And instead we're getting Andy Serkis, who's actually been part of the Venom franchise for a while because he directed Venom: Let There Be Carnage, and now he's coming back into the Venom franchise as Knull. To me, this just kind of lets me know they're probably going to be doing a lot of motion capture and Knull will be a really CGI heavy character. And since Andy Serkis has a lot of experience in that department and he's a great actor, it'll probably fit very well. So you know what? I'm okay with it. I am just still not believing that Knull has a large part in Venom 3. Like, I still fully believe Sony is doing the dirty thing where all the footage of Knull that we got in the Venom 3 trailer is all the footage that we're getting in the actual film. He's not going to pop out. He's not going to have a final battle with Venom. He'll be extremely heavily teased and set up for what Sony is looking to want to do in Spider-Man 4 and have that Venom and Spider-Man crossover finally, which, on that note, let's get on to the rumor that came out just this morning of the title for Spider-Man 4. Thanks to Cryptic HD Quality, who's become a very reliable source when it comes to trailer release dates and how long movies are said to be, they let us know, take this with a grain of salt, but I've heard the next Spider-Man movie might be titled Spider-Man King in Black. And that King in Black obviously referring to Knull, which is one of the names he is kind of given, and it's also part of a comic run he's attached to. And oh my god, like, as a Spider-Man fan, we just have to start taking it in. It looks like Sony is actually going down this rabbit hole up until this very point, or in fact, until we see Venom 3, I am still a little bit in denial that they're not going to do this whole Venom and Spider-Man crossover, that Spider-Man might actually not be fighting Knull and it'll still be a Daredevil and Kingpin type of street level story. Like, seriously, until I see the post-credit for Venom 3, I just don't know if I can believe they're actually doing that, but everything is pointing to Sony actually moving forward with this. As far as how I feel about that title, well, we knew they were getting rid of the whole home in the title. It wasn't going to be like Spider-Man Far From Home, Spider-Man Homecoming, or Spider-Man No Way Home. So Spider-Man King in Black, I'm not gonna lie, that is kind of a cool title if you're someone excited for Spider-Man to fight Knull, which I'm not gonna say I'm not excited for. Like, I'm definitely curious to see it. It's just like, what a wild direction to take the series. But also part of me is like, if this actually does end up being the Spider-Man and Venom crossover movie where they'll probably like fight for a little bit in the beginning, then team up and fight Knull, and they'll include all the other Spider people, which we do have a new comment from Andrew Garfield we'll talk about here in a second. How do you then not name the movie Spider-Man and Venom? Like, we just had Deadpool and Wolverine, and that seemed like a killer title that obviously worked for them. If you have this movie where Venom and Spider-Man are finally together, I think that's what you should call the movie, Spider-Man and Venom. I think it also works for sequels because people have been mentioning that's what they should then do with the next 3 movies, since they want to keep attaching MCU characters to Spider-Man films. You could eventually give us a Spider-Man and Deadpool movie, which I fully believe that's somewhere in the cards. Can you imagine the money a Spider-Man and Deadpool movie would make? And that's the title you would use, Spider-Man and Deadpool. So you kind of would have the trilogy be that, Spider-Man and blank, Spider-Man and Daredevil, Spider-Man and whatever. But King in Black, I mean, that's a pretty cool title, I'm not gonna lie. It's just like, are they really gonna do this? And I was mentioning Andrew Garfield had a new comment on playing Spider-Man. He just said in an interview on whether he would return to play Spider-Man again. I love that character, and it brings joy. If part of what I bring is joy, then I'm joyful in return. Basically saying that, yeah, he's down to come back. But man, Sony really just saw those dollar signs, and we're all gonna fall for it. I'm telling you, buddy, if you just give us a shot for the Spider-Man 4 trailer where Toby, Andrew, and Tom are in those black suits, it's over. That movie's making maybe $3 billion. So from a business perspective, I cannot blame Sony for leaning into this direction, going full for it. But there is a small part of my heart that goes, this just feels so odd for a Spider-Man story. Movie is going to start filming next year, so we'll get more concrete details. But right now, hearing Spider-Man King in Black, you like it? But okay, finally bringing us the story I'm kind of most anticipated and dying to talk about. Yesterday, out of nowhere, James Gunn took to his social media to reveal a new animated movie coming from DC Studios. He said exactly, over the moon excited to announce the newest DC Studios and Warner Brothers Picture Animation greenlit film for theaters. Dynamic duo, the story of Robin, or should I say Robins, as in Dick Grayson and Jason Todd. The first feature film from the visionary Swaybox, a mix of animation, puppeteering, and CGI, a script from the wonderful Matt Aldrich, produced with our partners at Matt Reeves' 6 in Idaho. This is something special. And oh my god, I was losing my freaking mind. For those of you who don't know, Robin Dick Grayson, the Dick, is my favorite character of all time in DC. And there was a part of me a little bummed that whenever they announced Batman Brave and the Bold and it would be a Batman and Robin story, it was more going to be with Damian Wayne. Not to say I dislike Damian, in fact I find him also to be a very fascinating character, but I prefer myself Nightwing, the original Robin. That's why I would always get a little excited when you would hear rumors that maybe Matt Reeves was going to introduce him in his own Batman universe and Robert Pattinson would have, and I'm like, okay, I kind of would really like to see that, but no, those rumors would always get tossed aside and people would be like, that's not true. And now it looks like the Dick is getting some love, but not just Grayson, Jason Todd as well, which has arguably become another one of the most popular Robins, mainly because of his tragic story from being an innocent boy wonder to then Red Hood. Which, yeah, if you haven't seen the animated Batman Under the Red Hood movie, check it out. It's one of my favorite Batman animated movies, and it just really captures the tragedy of Jason Todd well. So honestly, count me over the moon excited for this, but I also have so many questions, and I'm a bit puzzled by all of this. Let's start off with Matt Reeves is attached as a producer, but they make it clear in the articles this is not connected to his universe with Robert Pattinson, and it's also not even clear if this story is canon with the main DCU timeline. James Gunn did say animated movies and live action movies will work in the same universe at times, but some stuff will be Elseworld, like the Batman universe or the Joker movies, where they're in their own separate universe. Part of me thinks that Dynamic Duo isn't set in the DCU and isn't like an early story of whatever Batman Brave and the Bold is about to go through, but instead it's just kind of like its own universe story, familiarizing people with Robin, which is something I think needs to be done. A lot of people still think of Robin as a joke character, and that's mainly due to movies like Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Movies, I'm not gonna lie, I grew up on and I do have a soft spot on, and those were my introduction to the character and probably why I love him today. But that, along with the 66 Batman, just Robin was always looked at as a joke or a stupid thing to be attached to Batman, and people go, I don't want Batman carrying around a little kid in bright colors fighting crime. That's just stupid. This Dynamic Duo movie could really change that perspective for a lot of people, because it sounds like they're going with a tragic route. Leading me to the synopsis that was attached to the announcement of this movie, but there is something weird about this plot, which I'll tell you after I read it. So the plot of the movie that we have here says, dynamic duo follows the early days of Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, aka the Robins. They're orphan thieves, best friends who share dreams of a better life, but their friendship will be tested by competing visions of a future out of which will come a new dynamic duo. Ooh, to me that sounds like it's setting up. They both start out as Robins, they get trained by Batman, but they go on different paths on how they want to tackle justice. You know, Dick Grayson has always been the Boy Scout, the good boy. He has his differences with Batman, but in the end, he became his own persona, Nightwing, where he still carried on some justice. Jason Todd, unfortunately, got the worst of being raised by Batman, was put in some really dangerous situations, one in which involved a crowbar and the Joker, that led to what many people thought was his death at one point, only to kind of be brought back as Red Hood, a more vigilante type, some would say kind of like the Punisher for the DC universe, where he just believes in killing villains and criminals, not wanting to rehabilitate or give them a second chance, which is not the Batman way. A lot of people bring up the comparisons to Transformers 1, how that was kind of setting up of two people that started out as best friends only to eventually have an ultimate rivalry. And yeah, it sounds like what they're doing here, but if you ask any comic book fan, that really isn't how it goes down. You know, Dick Grayson and Jason Todd do have interactions in the comics, and there is a bit of a butting head sometimes, but they've never had this deep of a relationship where the synopsis says they were best friends and they shared dreams and then they went on the separate paths. So it's taken some liberties, which is where I want to bring up this plot was actually deleted from the main article that Deadline provided. Deadline is the one who got the exclusive, so they most likely actually got to talk to James Gunn and DC Studios, because James Gunn was also sharing the Deadline article. And after like 5 minutes of it being up, they removed this plot synopsis and even Variety that the part about the Robins being orphan thieves and best friends was false and not actually part of the movie. So there's still some kind of mystery how the story will go down. They might not be best friends who met at an orphanage together and got adopted by Bruce Wayne, which is what it was kind of sounding like at first. And heck, that leads me into my other question. How much will Batman be involved with this? Look, I totally get the DC fans that kind of roll their eyes anytime something Batman related gets greenlit, because yeah, the dude is an obvious moneymaker, man. We're like on the 20th Arkham game, that's like a VR game for Meta. They made a whole animated show about Batman's cars, and now the first theatrically released animated movie for DC Studios is Batman related. Look, I know it sucks, but I can never get enough Batman in my life, especially when it deals with the Robins. But I am curious to how much Batman will play a part in this story. Matt Reeves did say this: I have wanted to make a film with Arthur and Sway Box for many years, and for that film to be dynamic duo, an incredibly special and unique Batman and Robin story for families is a dream. It says it right there. This story will be a special and unique Batman and Robin story. Now, the other interesting part about this, so many interesting things, is the animation style they're going to go with. They hired a studio called Swaybox Studios, and on their website, they did have a reel of the animation they go with, and it is definitely very different. Showing you what it looks like while I describe what the animation is, they say here, Swaybox uses a technology known as Mo animation, which is a cross between CGI animation, practical elements, and stop motion and live action real-time performances. And yeah, it's like this weird amalgamation of real life, but also Wallace and Gromit type stop motion, some CGI thrown in. It's definitely different. There's been a lot of people that have already voiced their concerns going, I don't like the look of this. In fact, it actually looks kind of creepy. But this reel is also from the year 2017. If we go to a more updated reel on adding more CGI elements, particularly to like the eyes to not make them look as creepy, I honestly see a lot of potential for what they're going with. And even just like this rainy shot that they did, can you imagine what Gotham is gonna look like in this universe? I'm actually so down for this. I kind of see the potential how this could be amazing. And the movie is being written by Matthew Aldrich, who wrote Coco for Pixar. So I don't know, guys, like I cannot be more thrilled for this movie. This has now become one of my most anticipated DCU projects. Like Robin is getting getting so much love and I can't wait. But not everybody's on board. So, I mean, this is where I throw off to you guys. You see all these details. Are you excited for it? Are you on the fence? What do you hope for out of this movie? Love to hear it down below. But that's all the movie news we currently have going on. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch me talk some movie news. Don't be forgetting to hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.